And Dylan, Alan Carroll, I know was a real personal friend of yours, and for a lot of other modelers. I never had the honor of meeting him, but I do think that honoring people with his talent that are no longer with us is extremely important for the future of our hobby, and for people to know the people that really have built the hobby up to this point. So I'll turn it over to you, Dylan.
So thanks, Jim. So one of the things when it came to Alan, this is something that actually struck me when a number of us went up to his funeral, to see the line out the door, for one, astounded me. And it was more than just the trains. We think of trains as, that's what we do because that's what we all enjoy. Alan was more than that. He ran in the Boston Marathon. He was an accomplished architect. He was brilliant. And it showed. I think one of the best things that I've ever seen him ever build. And this is when I first met Al, because at the time Al was I think he actually still has the engine. Alan decided, I want to make a 210-4 Forney, which he did. He basically took a Texas mechanism and slapped it under a Forney. Or it might have been a decapod. I can't remember. It was a 10-wheeler mechanism that he threw under it. And then, of course, he also wasn't opposed to doing other odd things. He really liked working with Bachman's On30 Forney a lot. And he figured out how to cut them down to make tank engines and whatnot. He helped figure that out. But then one of them he converted into a single driver inspection engine that when you first look at it, you think it's normal. And then once you look at it closely, it's like, hey, wait a minute, it's missing a driver. He was truly a craftsman, and to say he was brilliant probably sells it short. He could look at something, know how to make it look right, and just did it. And he had the audacity. It didn't matter if it was a $500 piece of brass or something he was building from scratch. If he was going to make it, nothing was going to get in his way, and he was going to make it. So, Phil, if you want, let's run Alan's speech.
Gathered here today to dedicate this bench to our friend Alan Carroll. Alan was a fan of the main two-footers. He loved them. He loved the Wisconsin here. He was a life member, and he recently untimely passed. Anyway, we got together. He was a member of a group of On30 modelers, and we got together and said we got to do something. So 26 of us donated enough to buy the bench and to give a nice donation also. And this is Dave Bukowski. He's the president of the railroad here.
Nice to meet you all. Thank you for coming.
So I'm going to officially turn over a nice check for $885.
And in honor of Alan, we are going to use this check to kit bash that large locomotive. when Alan and I spoke about this, I said, he's a kit basher. I said, we have the ultimate project. We have bought a standard gauge locomotive that we're going to re-gauge and run on these rails here. And this is the perfect starter to get us going. And I think it's just a wonderful honor for Alan's memory to do that, and to have this bench here in his memory, so that when all his family and friends come, they can see this and remember Alan. Not that you'll have any trouble remembering him. But this will be a tangible, physical remembrance of him.
And this is a little memorial picture.
Oh, perfect.
This will eventually hang in here once we finish the inside.
We were together at that show. And let's see, I want to also thank here Rick and Debbie Bell, who put the financing together to buy the bench. And to Elliot Thomas here, this tall fella here, who assembled this bench for us and got it up here. Also my wife Pat for doing this. And this is the president, and Ed LeCat, where is
Ed
he?
Lakai, he is train master. He's your train master
Yeah,
today.
he's the train
He's the
master.
person that checked you in.
And he put this all together for
He
us.
has a chain holding him at the station.
So thank you all for coming.
And thank you for all who donated. This is a wonderful, wonderful way to remember Al.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's official now, you got it.
It's official. It's in my hands.
Right.
But I'm going to carry this back with me to make sure that.
Do you want to put them in here?
Yeah, that's good.
I even made a cheat sheet, but I didn't need it.
You always need a cheat sheet.
Well, it's a little different than I planned, but it worked out.
Perfect.
Yeah,
And you
Shall
picked
I
a beautiful
inject?
day to come here.
yes, we did after yesterday.
And let me see if I.
So that was basically the speech we gave. I think we were there for another 5 minutes or so while Alan's wife came up, his grandkids, his kids, they came up to join us, which I think was important, because we forget that it's not just a modeler, he's a human being, and he had a huge impact on his kids and his grandkids. I don't know them nearly as well as I knew Alan, but everything I've seen of them, they are truly wonderful people, and we're all the less for having lost them. And now, with that said, they are putting the donation that we gave them to good use. Now, the bench at Trout Brook is going to get used as Trout Brook is finished, and the locomotive that they're literally kit bashing is something that Alan would have absolutely have done. I can guarantee you the moment he heard that, he would go, I'm building one and I'm going to figure out how to build it. And he would have done it. Now, Phil, do you have the picture of the locomotive that I sent you?
I did not get it, but I will look
Okay.
for it while you
Now,
talk.
So, and again, I want to paint this picture for you guys, and that's kind of why we went to the WWNF, because, well, one, Alan was a lifetime member there, and two, it's a museum that literally defines building something from nothing. Back in the
What is the WWNF?
So the Wiscasset, Waterville, and Farmington, the WWNF, as it currently exists, was founded in the mid to late 90s. And basically at that point, the WWNF was one of the main two-footers. It was one of the larger three, the other one being the Bridgeton and Saco River, and the other one being the Sandy River. The WWNF was one of those three, and basically they struggled a lot at the end. Eventually, like with all the main narrow gauges, they were wiped out. The WWNF, basically, when they showed up in the 90s and they started trying to restore and rebuild something to preserve the history, and of course, part of it was one of their locomotives survived. It went down to a farm in Connecticut for a long time, and it came back around the time the museum first got going, which the engine runs now. Now, this here is the locomotive that the museum bought to regauge. Please take note, this is a standard gauge 45 tonner. Your shoulder height's probably about where the deck is. This is not a small locomotive. If anything, this thing as it presently sits dwarfs everything on the property. There's even some locomotives visiting from main narrow gauge. The two Bridgeton and Saco engines are presently there. This thing dwarfs these, and those are large as far as preserved 2-foot gauge equipment goes. Part of it is they decided, well, there's nothing out there that really fits, so we're going to make something that fits for us using the 45 tonner as a starting point. It's going to get a lot narrower. It's going to be losing weight, but more or less, it's going to be a 2-foot gauge GE center cab running up in Maine that will basically do everything they ever need. But yeah, that's the type of thing Alan would have done. He would have looked at that, said, I'm going to do that, and he would have done it. And that there is why the WWNF, the Wiscasset Museum, was right off the bat was basically a no-brainer. when you look at how they started from literally nothing, a lot full of trees, and now you look at it now where they have a shop, they're building a roundhouse, they have a turntable, a car barn, and nearly 4 miles of track on the original, I think, nearly 40-mile main line. Because yeah, these main 2-footers did go, these larger ones went for quite a ways. It is a definition of that builder spirit. And they will absolutely do amazing work, and they're going to continue to do it. And a lot of us were more than happy to do this in Alan's honor because he was worth it.
Dylan, I really appreciate you being here tonight. I talked to Alan Littlefield earlier yesterday, and he would have liked to have been here tonight, but he just didn't. He just couldn't do it. He's really broken up about the loss of Alan, and I know he'd like to be here, but he just couldn't make it tonight. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to do this, Dylan.
You're welcome.